Michael, you've already said that Stoke don't make the level of performances that they have, and the chances count, that whether that's through silly mistakes or lack of concentration or inexperience. When you look back, the home game against Cardiff seemed to be when things started to go wrong, when mistakes crept in. Does this give you a chance to rectify that?
Because we play Cardiff again?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, right, sorry. Yeah, look, I mean, Cardiff was a difficult day for us as a team because I think we'd come into a week where we'd lost 3 games. We'd come out of an international break. I think we lost at Sheffield United narrowly. We lost very narrowly against Bournemouth, goalkeeping mistake. And if memory serves me right, we lost a giveaway against Millwall from being ahead. So, you know, that was a challenging part. And then we were 3-0 up at home and we gave away a 3-goal lead. But I think if you look at how we reacted after that, I think did we not win the next 4 games or something at that point? So, yeah, look, the fact that it's Cardiff is irrelevant to me. You know, we got in a situation where we conceded very quickly and haven't been in a real comfortable position. You know, we should have probably been further ahead at that point in time. We obviously threw away 2 points at home, and a very frustrating day for the home support as well, which we fully understand. So for me, it's just about, this is an away game, and we have to go and try and win the game, as we had done. You know, tried to win the game desperately on Saturday. We tried to win the game at Barnsley. So we'll go and try and win the game now at Cardiff.
It's your 3rd away game on the bounce, as you've said. I suspect you'd take an ugly 1-0, wouldn't you, given the situations that you found yourself in recently?
Well, I look at where we are in the league, and you know, we're in an area where we're not going to obviously be dragged into a relegation fight. Where the gap between us and the top 6 is, you know, probably a little bit too big for us to try to claw that back. But I think at times you have to look past, you know, if you can look at the result or you can look at the performance. I tend to look at the performance. Obviously, we have to win games as well. So for me, like on Saturday, you know, we should win the game. We don't. The referee chooses not to give us a penalty when he should do. We concede a poor penalty, and we had other chances in the game. So that's the pattern of recent games for us. The most important thing for us is, you know, to go away from home in this league and have, you know, 65-70% of the ball against any team is not an easy thing to do. So I think that shows what type of team we are now. Now, whether we can go and dominate the ball as much at Cardiff as we did at Barnsley or at Peterborough, or a lot of the other games where we played away from home, Bristol City, for example, you know, that's the challenge. That's the team that we want to be. But ultimately, with that possession, we have to be more clinical. And we have to, you know, punish teams, particularly, you know, with the chances that we have and when we're on top. And, you know, if you look at recent games are good examples. You know, we had early chances. We hit the post early against Peterborough. We hit the post early against Barnsley. So we could have been ahead in both those games really quite early, which might have totally resulted in a different result, but it didn't. So we just got to go and try and be consistent with our level of performance. And, you know, trust and believe in what we're trying to do.
You mentioned the possession stats. I mean, you'll know that you had 62, I think it was 62% possession at Peterborough, and you had 2 shots on target. That was the downside. Yet for large parts of the game, you're way the best team. And if you look at the positives, you've got somebody like Jacob Brown, who's now on 10 goals, and he's really been patient, hasn't he? And he's an improved player, probably the most improved player of the season. Then you've got Lewis Baker, who's slamming in penalties, which is great, and Joe Allen's come back a much better player. There isn't too much wrong with the squad.
Well, look, I think, you know, where we're lacking a little bit at this minute in time is being more clinical in front of goal. You know, Jacob is a much improved player. There's no doubt about that. You know, as I said previously, you know, he came to this club as a player that had played for Barnsley essentially as a right-sided wide player. We felt his best position was to play more as a striker, though he has played off the right for us as well. He's now establishing himself in the Championship. He's an international player, so it shows you the progress that Jacob has made in the space of 18 months, just over 18 months. So that's down to him. That's down to the hard work that he's done. He still has to he still has to, progress. If you look at it, he misses a really, really good chance at 1-1 in the game on Saturday, which can turn the game back in our favour. And those are things that, unfortunately for us, we're not capitalising on enough. We create enough chances to win games, but we haven't taken them enough. And we have to continue to work on that. That's both individually and, the work we do here at the training ground. And maybe where our strikers are at this minute in time, we don't really have that striker who's really at the top of his game in terms of his confidence and you feel that he's going to take that chance all the time. And I think that's probably a pattern that's existed, probably particularly in the second half of the season. But, even in the first half of the season, there was games at home where we played extremely well and we did miss chances. Barnsley springs to mind at home. Different personnel, but same pattern. And, that's something that we must do to improve as a team. But I think there's a lot of players in the team. Joe's playing great. Baker's been terrific. Tymon's had a very, very strong season. Harwood Bellis has been very good since he came into the club. So, we have a lot of younger players around our squad, and those younger players, they're not going to play at the level every week. That's the nature of it. And, but they have to play through difficult periods, and we're having a difficult period now as a club. So, they have to get used to that. It's not going to be a positive atmosphere every time they play, but they have to be able to deal with that.
When you talk about working through it, the fans at Stoke don't really expect instant success. They like many fans to see their team doing well and working as hard as they can and trying to play for the shirt that they would love to wear. But do you really think the only way of getting around this is working through the bad patch? Because, as you've said, the younger players, their confidence gets hit. They don't work as well every week as they should. But it can't help when fans get on people's backs.
Well, I think there's a difference between careful with your question, and I'm not sure you could fault the players on their attitude to the game and working hard in the game. That's a different thing. I can understand if fans get frustrated with that. At times, younger players will have inconsistencies in their performance, but we had a team that went to the 95th minute to get an equaliser at Barnsley. If you think that the team's not together and not playing, I don't think that's the case. Well, I know that's not the case because I see the atmosphere every day in the training ground. We had a team that played with 10 men away at Bournemouth and went to 80 plus minutes so those are two different things there. In terms of the inconsistency of the performances, yeah, look, difficult atmospheres are difficult to play in for players, I know what that's like as a player. I played in the Newcastle team at 18 years of age where the crowd could turn on the team very easily. I played in a team at Newcastle that was relegated, so I know exactly what that atmosphere is like. And fans are entitled to voice their opinion. That's why they pay their money. But as a player, you just have to be above that. And quite frankly, you have to ignore that. You have to be stronger than that, and you have to play your natural game. And that's what these players will play through. We have a squad where we think we have 12 players in our squad that are under 23, which means they're probably at best in their second season in the Championship. And that includes someone like Harry Souttar. This would only be Harry's second season in the Championship. So these are situations that these players have to learn to deal with. The crowd are impatient. I get that. They want a team that can go back to the Premier League. But I think they have to realise where the club is. We have, our wage bill will be considerably less in the summer than what it has been. Our team is considerably younger than it was. We have hungry players who want to do well for the club. I would just ask for a bit of patience. And look, the fans will decide whether they want to give us that or not.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt, Michael, that all of the players are together as a group. On the injury front, is there any news on injuries?
Jagielka's a doubt. Obviously, the other players are still out. Moore's on the grass I see today, but obviously won't weekend possibly for him. Powell, as we know, is out for 6 weeks, and so I don't. The other
Jaden Philogene-Bidace?
Jaden's an extreme doubt as well. We don't anticipate that Jaden will be able to come through and train. He tweaked his medial ligament on Friday in training, so that took him out of the game on Saturday. So yeah, he's extreme. Like we'll see how he is today. We're training later today, but I would think that he's an extreme doubt as well.
What about Tommy Smith? Have you got any good news on Tommy Smith?
Tommy's fine. Yep, Tommy's not injured.
Great, thank you. Finally, from me, I think I'm correct in saying Wednesday or this particular match is the cut-off for the 10 bookings. Is that one of the reasons why you've been careful playing some of the players because they're close to getting that extra booking?
No, not really. I think at this stage of the season, we're in a situation. I'm not sure the exact players. I think Ben Wilmot's the closest to that.
Yeah.
So if Ben played, like we felt that in recent weeks, Tommy was playing. I think Ben had a little bit of a few difficult games, and if I'm honest, playing at right of a back four or as a right-sided centre back. I was pleased with how he did in the game. Obviously, he gave the penalty away. So, Ben's played more first-team games this season than at any point in his career. So he's another example of a player that's going to have to play through this situation. But the bookings isn't a factor for me because you pick your strongest team or what you believe is your strongest team to try and win the game.
Thank you. Good luck, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ange. George, if you want to unmute and fire away, please.
Yeah, Michael, obviously, Steve Morrison, since he's been in control and taken over control, particularly it was evident in the game they played against you at the Bet365, that they do decide to hit the front man fairly early in support. You see any change in that since he's been at the realm in the games that he's taken over?
Not particularly, no. I mean, I think, they've obviously lost Kiefer Moore, but they replaced him with Jordan Hugel. So I think we'll face a big striker with probably, another more mobile striker alongside him. They've been consistent to play with the back three, which hasn't changed. So yeah, look, I think that's they're not different from a lot of teams in this league. I think they've got themselves in a position where earlier in the season, maybe it didn't look, they were going to be, in a relegation fight. I don't think they'll be there now. But obviously Steve's a young manager, so he wants to put his own stamp on the team as well. But he only has the players in the building that he has. So you can't change things dramatically overnight. So look, we know how Cardiff have been consistently this season, and we know what we'll have to deal with.
And certainly for yourself, it's an opportunity, obviously, to possibly start to build a run, isn't it? And that's important with a home game coming up very quickly on Saturday.
Look, it's an opportunity for us to win a game. It's the next game. We were disappointed not to win the game on Saturday. We were disappointed not to win the game at Barnsley. So, when you draw games, you're never that happy. And, again, it's our third away game in a week, which is always challenging, but it's a good place to go and play. I think the pitch will be better than the last two pitches that we've played on, which hopefully we think will help us. And we'll go and try and win the game.
They do have a vociferous crowd like you have at the big Bet365 stadium. Really, it's important you quiet them, or as you've just alluded to now, you just go on and play your game.
I don't think you ever worry about the away support when you come and play. The key thing for us is to play on the front foot. And, as I said, look, we've been very dominant in possession away from home in a lot of games this season. And that's, I look at how we went and played at Nottingham Forest, for example, where we were extremely dominant with the ball. And that's the type of performance that we look for again tomorrow night.
You just touched on, Michael, there. You alluded to that maybe the gap between yourself, you're in 15th place and obviously double figures into the final playoff place. That is it too hard to bridge that gap? And realistically, you possibly may not be able to get in the playoff places.
Well, we're not really looking at that at this minute in time. I was just using that as an example of where we are at this minute in time in the league. The most important thing is that we finish the season strong. We've 10 league games to go, and that we do everything to win as many games as possible. The league table can be a little bit in the championship. I wouldn't say misleading, but we would love if we were 10 points better off. Our people would perceive our season to be completely different, and that's the reality. Is we know we should be 10 points better off, and unfortunately, we've thrown points away in that situation. So I'm not looking at the playoffs. I'm not looking at anything. All I'm looking at is to continue to try and progress the team, look to build towards next season as well. You have to be mindful of that. We have players who are out of contract, so their situations have to be sorted out. We need to sort of maybe look at some players and find out whether we feel that they can do, be part of the club going forward. We try and introduce some of the younger players as well. Forrester and Thomas Barrow played last night. in the 23s and played for 60 minutes because they'll travel with us to Cardiff as well. And those are all parts of, you know, what we'll try and evaluate and what we'll focus on between now and the end of the season.